Self-control, a strong work ethic, unshakable values. If you could send your children out into the world with those traits, you would feel pretty good about their future. Our guest today has a proven formula for teaching kids life skills, and she's sharing it with us right now on Maggie and the Moms. It's time for Maggie and the Moms. Sponsored by Tampa General Hospital. Our obligation as parents to our children is to make sure that they're ready to face everything that the world will throw their way. In order to teach them essential life skills, we have to connect with them on a deeper level, and we should focus on connection over perfection. That is why our guest today has given her book that title. Andrea Owen is here joining us. Welcome, Andrea. It's so nice to meet you and have you here.
Thank you so much for having me.
And I'd like to introduce you to Deanna Moore, our executive producer over there.
Oh, no, I don't want to.
You have to be on, Deanna, because you are a mother of two children. And so we always like for you to participate in the conversation.
I'm just kidding. I got to multitask. It's rough.
I know. I appreciate that. Andrea, you had a lot of multitasking to do as a mother of four.
I did.
And when your boys were in high school playing football, you got a call from the coach that surprised you, which is how this whole journey started for Andrea, teaching life skills. Would you please share that story with us?
I would love to. Yes, I got a call from the great state championship coach, Robert Weiner, who knew I was very involved with the team. And he alerted me to the fact that in December, that there were a handful of boys that were superstars on the team that were academically ineligible and in order to play at the next level in college, accept those scholarship offers, you have to have a 2.0, and they were under that. And he said, what can we do? We have 2 months to get these kids eligible. And GPA was impossible to move the GPA that quickly. And so I started working with them every day around my kitchen table to work on the SAT and study skills. And what I learned sitting with them around my kitchen table was that they were smart. They were very smart and learned quickly, but they were just not motivated.
That's what they were missing. The motivation wasn't there.
The motivation and the drive, and they had it on the field, but they just didn't have it in the classroom. And so fast forward for 10 years after this meeting, we got the kids, you're probably wondering what happened with these 5 kids they all got into their schools. The coach said to me the following year, hey, I've got these kids. And I said, I am not doing this again this way. No way. I said, that was crazy. 8 weeks of every day after school, but what we can do is front load these boys with the tools they need to succeed. As they come in as freshmen on the plant football team, this is what we're going to do.
And so every Monday after school for an hour, Andrea taught them life skills with some help of guest speakers who came in and shared their struggles. The results really were dramatic. The GPAs shot up. These children were equipped with what we as parents want our children to be equipped with more than anything, those essential life skills, which include self-control, which include a positive attitude, which include discipline, which include the values. The list goes on and on. But you say that a great way to start that conversation with the kid, and it's part 1 of your book, is to teach them about building their brand. Would you explain what that means?
Yes. I love this first chapter of our book, Building Your Brand, because kids don't really think of themselves as a brand. They love talking about the brands they're wearing, their shoes, their Jordans, their Apple Watch, whatever it is, but they don't realize what goes into building a brand. And when we talk about building your personal brand, it opens up their world to like, hey, I'm in control of myself and I'm going to be intentional about building my brand. I'm not just going to let it happen on its own. That's kind of scary, just to let it all fall into place, because it won't. And so when it empowers them to think of, oh, well, what is my brand? Who am I? What values do I have? And it's a very introspective course for them, because we lay all these things out, and is honesty in your brand, is work, what's your work ethic, what's your attitude, how do you speak to people, what language are you using, what are you posting on social media? All these things go into building their brand.
That is so smart. And the reason that Andrea said that she mentioned a course is because this started in that high school all those years ago, but it turned into a program called TOUGH, stands for Train Up First, which schools across the country and have adopted. Right. And
Yes.
so now a lot of students have gone through this program. It has proven to work. And that's why Andrea has now put this in a book for parents. And we thank you for that, because I know that you got a lot of parents were like, this is amazing. Would you share it with us? Right.
Yes, the kids were learning. There are 25 courses in TOUGH, and these kids were having such great dialogue with their teachers and with their peers in the classroom that's when I got bombarded by parents saying, hey, we want to connect in this way too. You know, we want to have these conversations at home around our dinner table.
And the book includes sample dialogues, which I think is really genius, because sometimes we just don't know the right words to reach our children. So when it comes to building your brand, which I think is a genius way to approach it, what are some of the important traits, and maybe we could tackle them one by one, that go into building your brand? It starts with teaching your kids to have a positive attitude, you say.
Correct.
Give us an example. What does a positive attitude look like?
Correct. I mean, a positive attitude is, every day we have a choice when we wake up. Are we going to hit our snooze button 5 times and be like, I don't want to drag myself out of bed, and today's going to be so hard, and I'm probably not going to have a good practice? Well, then you won't. But just at the beginning of your day, when your feet hit the floor, to say, you know what, it's going to be a great day. I'm going to have good things happen to me. I probably will encounter difficulties. We all do. But it's the way I handle my attitude toward the things that are thrown at me that will make me, successful.
And so if you start with a positive attitude, then you got to go and tackle all the things that the day will bring. And that involves frequently hard work.
It is
especially if you want to succeed. So how do we go about reaching them when we want to instill that work ethic? We try to model it, but sometimes they don't have it anyway.
It's really hard. Work ethic, I have always told my kids, are you going to work hard even when no one's watching? Are you working hard for you? Or are you working hard for somebody else? And to try to instill that value, one of their brand values, to work hard and do it for yourself. It will make you feel good. It will make you feel good about yourself if you are really doing the work and putting the hard work in. And especially, I started this with football players. You're always up against someone that, might have a better attitude than you, or might not be as skilled as you are, but they've got a great attitude and a great work ethic. And, one day that might beat you out, so you're always,
there's a quote I love. I think it's in the movie Thunderstruck with Kevin Durant. Hard work beats talent when talent fails to work hard.
Yes.
And isn't that the truth?
It's so true.
Hard work is essential. And so I love how you list these things that are important to have in your personal brand, but then you also tie them together.
Right.
They all very much go hand in hand. Like values, if we throw values in there, can you explain how values and the work ethic and the positive attitude all kind of are related?
Yes. So one thing that, when you really can define what your values are at a younger age, at a young age, then it will make decision making a lot easier for you. When you tie in your attitude, if you value attitude, then that is going to be in your toolbox, and you're going to strive to have a good attitude, a good work ethic. One example that I give in my book is that if you value honesty, and that that is one of your values, and you find a wallet with a bunch of cash in it and an ID, you don't have to decide, oh no, what am I going to do? Am I going to keep this? Am I going to, immediately, you value honesty. You're going to return the wallet. And that's just so, and then when your children get older and you're going to parties and things like that, if you already define your values before you get in the situation, it's going to make things a lot easier for you.
It's going to make it a whole lot easier to have self-control, which is one of the other things that I love that you talk about. As mother to a teen boy right now, that is a big topic in our home, because the parties are starting and the kids are drinking and the kids are vaping. And this kid who is surrounded by this, if he doesn't have good values, that has long been defined, I am this person, so I'm going to resist this, then I'm afraid that he won't. Right. So how do you train up on self-control?
Well, I love the example that you just said about going to parties. It's a lot easier, as we all know, not to put ourselves in a situation where we know to begin with, when we know, gosh, that's going to be a tricky situation where I might not have the self-control. So the first thing is trying not to put yourself in those situations. The second thing is surrounding yourself with people and friends that know your values, so they can hold you accountable. Self-control is hard. I mean, it's hard for all of us. It's hard with what we eat. It's exercise. It's self-control is refraining from things, but it's also being intentional about things too. It's both sides.
Andrea describes self-control like a muscle. We're going to pick up the conversation right there, right after this quick break here on Maggie and the Moms. Welcome back. Self-control really is like a muscle. The more you use it, the stronger it gets. And I love that analogy so much, Andrea, because the next time that you are in a situation where you need to have self-control, if you will have already had several wins, several successes, you're going to want that feeling again. It's going to arm you for every other time that issue comes up, correct?
Absolutely. When you say no the first time, which is probably the hardest time, to something that the next time you think, well, I've already done this once, and that felt pretty good, that, I accomplished this goal. And the next time it becomes easier and easier. It is like a muscle. The more you use it, the stronger it will become. And on the other side of self-control is also willpower. We talk about that too. What's
the difference?
The difference. So self-control is mostly refraining from things when you're tempted. Whether it's a diet or an unhealthy habit, or saying something or not posting something in the heat of the moment, that's self-control. Willpower is, this is good for me and it really doesn't feel good. Like my willpower right now is that cold plunge every morning when I don't want to get in a 51-degree cold plunge, but I'm going to do it.
Is it motivation?
It's motivation. Yeah,
Okay.
It's motivating you to do something that you might not be comfortable with.
Okay. I like that.
Yeah.
I like that way of looking at it. All right. So we have set the foundation. We have started to help them build their brand. And this is something that you say has to start, obviously, as young as possible.
As young as possible.
So this book is for parents of children what age?
11, starting at 11. You can always teach attitude. I teach attitude to I've taught attitude, and work ethic. Like when you're loading the dishwasher, put a smile on your face, and do it the best you can.
Yes,
when you're 6 or years old.
You told me that before, and you said, teach your kids gratitude. Like, my parents are putting food on the table. I'm going to show my gratitude for that by loading the dishwasher.
Yes,
that.
It started at a young age. I will say this: I have a best friend in Atlanta, Georgia. She has 8 children, and she needs a lot of work, not a lot of help. And her rule in her house is when they turn 8, that they become when they're a consumer, and until they're 8, and they hate their 8th birthday because then they become a contributor.
Ooh, consumer to contributor at 8, Deanna.
Yeah.
That means your girls are have to contribute already.
Now they contribute.
They have been contributing because of that woman right there.
Well, I have a question.
Yes.
Do you see differences between boys and girls when you're giving this philosophy?
Yes, I do. I think they're very different
How
from
so?
each other. Oh gosh.
Generally speaking.
Generally, I don't. Well, and I would say boys and girls, and even birth order too. I think some children tend to be such pleasers that even if they really don't want to do it, they're going to do it because they're a pleaser.
And that's the older one.
That's
at least in my family.
No,
Your family too?
Birth order is such a thing.
Yes.
Yes, first child is always trying to
people
please. Yeah.
Yes, and then there's the other one that's going to think of a way around everything that you ask them to do.
Yep, that's so true. Could it be that we're just more tired by number 2? We're like, raise yourself.
I do think that there's something to that. I do. It's like, the pacifier falls on the floor with your first one and you're like, oh my God.
Yeah.
And the second one, you're like, back in the mouth.
I don't know.
I will, our fault. I will say this. I have 4, and my older 3 they're really close together. They're 1 year apart, 1.5 years apart. And then I have a gap. And then the fourth one, 3.5 years later, and the fourth. And I'll never forget my daughter coming to me. I think she was maybe 10, And she said, Mom, I really need to speak to you. It's really important. And I said, Abby, what about? Are you okay? And she said, not really. And we went upstairs in a room, and Scotty is my youngest. And she said, Scotty is not going to turn out like the rest of us. He gets everything he wants. You never tell him no. We had a timer for sharing toys, and you were so strict about that. And he's the fourth. And you'd say, just give it to him. You won't want it for long, you know.
Scotty is not going to turn out.
Like
Oh, that is maybe my favorite
She
quote
said
I've ever heard.
I love that
He's
she was
not-
comfortable enough to say that to
Yes,
you.
she
You
said
know?
he's not. He has no discipline, and I'm really worried about him. And I have to say,
No
we do call
discipline.
Scotty to this day. He's the greatest, but we call him the family pet. Like
The
everybody
family
loves him.
pet.
Yeah, loves him so much. He's great.
Aw,
But anyway,
Scotty.
funny
I'm sure
story.
Scotty turned out amazing, like all your kids. All right, we're moving on here to talk about topics because that, like we mentioned, the first part is all about laying the foundation, and then you get into other areas. After you have laid the foundation, you say it's like a pyramid. What is next in the pyramid?
So the next is decision making, and the reason we start with self control and your values and work ethic and positive attitude, you need all of those to start making important decisions in your life, with relationships, with how you deal with anger, with how you deal with disappointments, overcoming obstacles. All the things, dealing with peer pressure, bullying, all these chapters are in my book.
Can you give us some examples of how you tackle the topic of peer pressure?
Peer pressure. So with peer pressure, we really tackle that in the bullying chapter, and most of us have all had peer pressure. And again, we talk about your friend groups.
That's
and
so
who you're choosing to hang out with. And we actually have a little survey in the book of how to identify good friends and how to identify toxic friends. And back to building your brand, I think we talked about this week, Maggie. A lot of kids after they've taken our building brand course want to rebrand, and they want a do-over because they want their brand to be better. And rebranding, we call it rebranding from the inside out. First, it starts with your character, and then with your outward appearance and how you're projecting yourself. And part of that exercise in rebranding is maybe you're not hanging out with the right people. Maybe you've got some toxic friends that are persuading you, that are, or pressuring you to do things that are not a part of your value system. And it is a great exercise for everybody.
So it's a survey, you said?
It's a survey, and we label these friends like drama seekers, the takers, I think I have 12 different names for each of these types of people that we have all encountered in our lives. And it's really good to identify those people. And when you're rebuilding your brand, do they need to be a part of your brand?
And I like that we will have by then, right, if we follow the formula that you're prescribing, laid that strong foundation where they have the values, but also the self-value. Because I feel like a big part of the reason why kids sometimes choose the wrong friends is because they don't believe in themselves enough. They're
so
like,
true.
maybe that's all I can get. Maybe that's all I'm worthy of. Right? So self-confidence is a big thing that I try to instill in my children as well.
Absolutely. And as parents, building them up, at home and giving them that self-confidence is huge.
And of course, that starts as early as possible too.
Right.
All right. So let's talk about the book goes into so much more. Social media, which is a big one. I mean, teen dating, which is another big one. You say that all of this needs to happen at home when they connect with you. And that is a big part of your message, connection over perfection. Would you explain what that means?
Yes. So striving for perfection is an unattainable goal, but striving for connection is a goal that we can all attain, to connect with people. You can't be a perfect parent. There's no such thing. We try our best, but when you connect with your kids, they are comfortable with you to talk about their fears and their insecurities and things they do wrong, and vice versa. When we connect with our kids, we can be humble and be able to admit when we're wrong and if we've done things wrong too. It's a two-way street. And I think kids respect us, or my children respect their parents when they can also say, gosh, that would be really hard for me too. Let's figure out how we're going to tackle this together.
So that is a big question, because it's not always easy to learn how to connect and kind of live by that formula, connection, that mantra, connection over perfection. After this short break, we'll talk about how to do that. We'll be right back. A reminder, the book is called Connection Over Perfection, The Power of Intentional Parenting with Love, written by Andrea Owen, our guest today. This is what parents need to do to teach kids essential life skills. Prioritize connection over perfection. You explained to us that means not expecting perfection, knowing that our kids are going to make mistakes and they should feel safe to talk to us about their mistakes, number one. And number two, you should encourage them to make the mistakes. Why?
Well, it's so important for your kids I'll start this way. It's so important for parents to allow their children to make mistakes and not swoop in and fix things for them when they're young, when you're training them, when they're young at home, when they're in your household, and you can learn from all these mistakes. I've always said, let them have a fender bender. So you don't want them to have the wreck, right? Just let them have that little fender bender. It's a learning experience. We learn more from our losses than our wins. And it is and kids, when they make a mistake and they can work through it, that gives them the confidence and the self-esteem that you were just talking about, Maggie.
And the resilience to keep going.
They can keep going, and they know, wow, that happened to me, and I figured it out. And I can't say enough about that. I think it's so important when they're young to really walk alongside them and let them fail. It's hard. Trust me, it is so hard because you love them and you don't want them to feel pain. But it's
you're
short-term
helping
pain,
them.
long-term gain.
Exactly, you're helping them when you let them fail. It took me a while to learn that one.
All of us.
But you know what? I have it, and I believe it, and I live by it. I try to. The thing that I'm not so great at, and what I'd like to end with, is sometimes when my kids make a mistake that I feel, after I have told you so many times in life that is not something we do, that is not something that you should, I don't know.
Right.
You know what I'm talking about. When they make a mistake, I don't always handle it in the most diplomatic way. Can you give me an example of a better way to handle it when your kids make mistakes?
Yes. So
instead of, you should have known better.
Yeah. Well, I mean, of course, the initial reaction is really tough. And I feel like taking a little time out and really, calming down and thinking about the outcome that you desire and how you're going to get to that outcome.
For example, let me give you an example.
Yeah,
and you tell me if this is a good one or not. Your kid posts something boneheaded on social media, and that's going to live now forever and potentially jeopardize their future.
Right. And your first...
How do you handle that?
Yeah, your first reaction is you're livid. This is awful. This is all over. How are we going to, you want to hit him over the head, right?
You do.
Like, why did you do that? We talk about this all the time.
Exactly.
And so sit down with your child and think, look, how many people has this affected? Look, this is affecting you. It's affecting your family. Like, your mistake just doesn't affect you. It affects a lot of people around you. And when you decide to do something like this, you can't control how many people it affects, and they don't really look at it like that because they're young, right? They don't look at it.
Right.
They're thinking about themselves. Yes. And so to be able to say, like, for social media, for instance, how are we going to fix this problem? How are we? What do you think would fix this problem? And let them come up with ideas. Of course, you're going to guide them along the way. Hopefully, they'll come up with a good idea. If they don't, of course, guide them. And just say, I know this, natural consequences. I'm big with natural consequences. Like, instead of being so angry and mad, saying, I'm so sorry that this hurts you. I feel your pain. I know that's really hard for you. I'm really sorry. Not, and
I think you also talk about the why, helping them to understand the why instead of of just scolding them, say, well, let's try to figure out why you did this, right?
Yes. Why? What came, like what inside of you made this happen? Because this is just the result of what you're feeling inside. So trying to get to the heart of the matter. And what is the heart of the matter? Because, a lot of these things that happen are surface issues, and there's a much deeper issue that you might have to navigate through.
And like I mentioned in the book, Andrea gives sample dialogues, all kinds of scenarios that you might encounter with your teen at every age. I really appreciate that in the book. I think it's something that I will definitely really use, and I appreciate it, Andrea.
Thank you. Yes, I've had a lot of parents tell me, like, I do know I need to talk to my child about this, but I just don't know how, and I can't find the words to say. So I thought that would be very helpful.
It is. This entire conversation has been. Thank you so much for being here. The book is Connection Over Perfection, written by Andrea Owen. Listen, this is something that is like my new Bible on my nightstand. No, I'm not kidding, because it's everything. Just flipping through it, like things that I'm going through right now, it's like you're in my head. And I know every mom is going to feel that way who picks it up. All right. Thanks for listening and watching today on Maggie and the Moms. We'll see you next time.